Hi, today I'm going to show you how you can actually leverage AI to build a great pitch deck. Welcome to the Gen AI Nerd channel. And this video actually has two parts. So in the first part, I will actually cover the fundamentals of developing a strong pitch. So I will talk about what you actually need to have in a pitch and how you should deliver a pitch. In the second part, I will focus more on the hands-on part with AI. So I actually will demonstrate specific AI tools that you can use to develop a high-quality pitch deck rather fast. And more specifically, I will show two dedicated GPTs. So one GPT to help you to create a pitch transcript and one GPT to help you with visual storytelling. And on top of that, I will also demonstrate how you can use Gamma to transform a pitch transcript into polished slides in minutes. So let's start. Yes, so as mentioned in the first part, I want to focus briefly on the essentials of pitching. And actually, I use kind of two sources to do so. So one source is a nice YouTube video from Webrazi on kind of 5 pitch mistakes. And I also use content from my former colleague, Garrett McGowan. He has been the managing director for our Entrepreneurship Center for a long time. And also he had some great insights in how to create a good pitch. And what I will do is actually focus on a number of mistakes that novice entrepreneurs typically tend to make, and then how you can avoid these mistakes. So let's delve into the first mistake. And the first mistake that I see happening when founders or students pitch startups is that they fail to tell a story. And I think actually storytelling is an essential part of doing a good pitch. So you need to realize that pitching is not providing a traditional PowerPoint presentation. Pitching has nothing to do with providing a kind of McKinsey consulting slides presentation. That's actually the worst thing you can do. And that also means, for instance, that when you do a pitch deck, that you should not provide an overview slide because that's really redundant. And the most essential part is that your pitch should be focused on what we call storytelling. And what do we mean by storytelling? So what it means is we need to go away from in your presentation providing a lot of rational facts about your pain points. And what I often see is that students will say, oh, this pain point, 1.5 billion people are suffering from that, or it's triggering costs of 20 million. To be honest, these numbers don't say anything. I will have forgotten about them 1 minute later, so it does not trigger an emotional reaction. If you want to trigger an emotional reaction, if you want to get attention from your audience, it's important that you are able to share an emotional experience with the audience that really illustrates your pain point. So when you create a pitch, you will really have to think about how can I share with them an emotional experience. And my recommendation is always that the more personal you can make that, the better. So if you say, meet Lisa, this 35-year-old person, blah, 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 then I don't have a connection with this person. However, if you make it about you yourself, then typically this will really trigger my attention. Yes, and so let me show you an example of great storytelling. This was actually a group of students in one of my courses that created a business model called Leichtmatrose. And let me briefly simply show you the first minutes of the pitch, and I hope you will see how they were successful in storytelling.
Hello everyone, I'm Jonas from Leichtmatrose, and today I will tell you a story about my last summer vacation. I'm a passionate sailor, and together with my family, we enjoy to go on the Baltic Sea and go for a sailing trip. And last year, we made a trip from Grömitz to the harbor of Ort, which is a really, really wonderful harbor on the island of Fehmarn. We're really looking forward to get there, spend 2 nights there and relax. But what happened as soon as we got there? We were not the only ones. The harbor was absolutely packed, and the harbor master was furious as he could not handle all the boats. He even had to send away some sailors, including ourselves. And we were furious because we could not find out about it in advance. There was no good website telling us that the harbor is going to be packed. We could not reach the harbor master by phone or write him an email out on the water. So what did? We did what actually thousands of sailors do every day in the summer on the Baltic Sea. We had to turn around getting to another harbor.
So I think this is a great example of how you can do personal storytelling on a pain point. So this was not about an abstract person having this problem. No, it was about him and his family struggling with the harbor. So I think this is a great example. So let us now move to the second mistake. And the second mistake is that often founders have a tendency to present at the founder's level. However, the audience often, when listening to a pitch, is not interested in all kinds of nitty-gritty execution details. Instead, what they want to hear is the bigger picture. Yeah, what is actually the bigger story behind your startup? And I think an important question to answer in this respect is, why is now the perfect time to build your startup? If you're able to answer this question, often investors or jury members of a competition will really be interested in your startup. A third mistake is that founders often think a pitch should be very rational. However, it's actually about creating emotions. Yeah? So we want people to be attentive, and that means we need to create strong emotions. Yeah? And that means, again, that your audience need to feel your pain point. And how do you do that? Again, you do that by storytelling. Yeah? So the more personal your storytelling becomes, the more attention you will get, the more people will feel your pain point. Yeah? And you need to explain the exciting part of your startup as quickly as possible in your pitch. Yeah, so really try to focus about what makes your startup different. Why should we get excited about it? And I think that's also very important. And of course, the extent to which you are able to trigger excitement will also really depend on your presentation style. So how you're presenting to your audience is a very important part of a pitch. And this is not straightforward for everybody, especially, for instance, I'm teaching German students. They need to do it in English because we are an English-speaking business school, so they are not native English speakers. They are not really used to do this kind of emotional storytelling, so this is really a struggle for them. But the good news is that you can prepare and you can learn it. Yeah? So even though it's not kind of a natural skill that everybody has, you can really learn and prepare for it. Yeah? And that's something you then need to do. And of course, there are a lot of little tricks that you can use. I think about, you can speed up talking a bit. If you want to get attention, you can make movements with your hands to make it more engaging. Of course, these are things that you cannot always think about when presenting. Yeah? When you have to present a text that requires a lot of cognitive effort, and then to think about how I am standing, how I am moving can be quite challenging. And that's why it's actually very important to make sure that you have really prepared the text very well, so that actually you will have the cognitive space in your head to also think about your presentation style. Also, I think a mistake that I often see is that people try to present with too many people, and that then actually tends to destroy the flow. So I think having one presenter or maximum two presenters makes much more sense. Yeah, but so here the overall message is simply you need to really train your presentation, learn it by heart, so that when you're presenting, especially when you do the presentation live, you have the cognitive capacity to also think about how you're presenting. Finally, I think a fourth important mistake is that often there is a lack of focus in the pitch. Yeah? And actually, this is one of the most important things. Given that you typically have a limited amount of time, you really will have to think about, what do I need to present and what is nice to present? And I would really focus on the need to present. And again, I'm repeating myself, but I think it's very important. Storytelling on the pain point is a very important part, and that might take some time, so you can easily spend 2 of your 7 minutes on the pain point, but I think it's very important to do that. One way you cannot solve providing a lot of information is by simply speaking faster, because then again, you will simply no longer get the attention of your audience. If you're rambling, then people will disconnect and they will lose attention. They will go to their smartphones, check their emails, and then you lost your audience. Yeah? So just speaking faster will not be the solution here. So this is kind of an overview, I think, of the 4 common mistakes that I see when students or novice entrepreneurs engage in pitching, and I hope that my recommendations can help you to create a better pitch. So now we are ready to move to the second part where I actually will show you how we can use some Gen AI tools to help us create a high quality pitch. Yes, so the first tool that I want to show you is a GPT that I designed called the Starter Pitch and Storyline Coach. And so this is a GPT that I have trained to make sure that it can help you, assist you in developing a high quality pitch, taking into account the best practices that I shared before. So this is really a tool that step by step will guide you through all the typical slides that you need to have in a starter pitch, taking into account best practice. So actually in the back end, I have kind of provided a lot of best practices. I've given it detailed instructions to really help you step by step to build a starter pitch deck. And actually, I think the best way to use this is to use the advanced voice mode so that you can really talk with the GPT here. So let me briefly illustrate how this works. I will only show part of it because actually going through all the steps will take some time. It can easily take 10-15 minutes. Now I will just show you the starting point. But in the end, if you go through all the steps, it will actually create for you a transcript of a pitch deck that meets all the requirements that we have mentioned before. So let me briefly illustrate how it works. Hi, can we start?
Absolutely. Let's dive in and get your startup pitch rolling. We'll begin with the hook builder to create a compelling opening story. So tell me, what's the core problem your startup is solving? And can you share a personal experience, either from your own life or someone you know, where this problem really showed up? Let's turn that into a great opening story.
The problem that I want to address is that people often struggle to pay their energy bills because they get unexpected bills at the end of the year. And personally, I faced that experience last year where suddenly at the end of the year, I had to pay 300 euros in addition. I also complained to my landlord that we don't have options for renewable energy, but my landlord indicated that he's not willing to invest in expensive solar panels.
Great. That gives us a really solid starting point. Let's shape that into a narrative hook that will resonate emotionally and lead right into your mission. Here's a refined version of your story. Just last year, I opened my mail to find an unexpected energy bill, an extra 300 euros I had no idea was coming. I remember the frustration of realizing how unpredictable these costs were and how powerless I felt when my landlord said no to any renewable options. That was the moment I realized we need a better way for renters to predict and manage their energy costs without relying on expensive infrastructure changes. This way, you're illustrating the urgency and the personal frustration that led you to your mission. It's concise, it's relatable, and it sets the stage perfectly for introducing your solution.
Yes, that makes sense. Let's go to the next step.
Absolutely. Next up is refining your value proposition so it's super clear and easy to grasp. So let me ask you, in just a sentence or two, how would you explain your solution to someone who's not familiar with the energy or housing space?
Yes, so in this way, you can really go step by step through all the essential parts of a pitch deck. And actually, the nice thing is that at some parts, for instance, it will help you in creating a competitor slide. You can also ask it to do additional research, and then it will enable the web search functionality to actually help you identifying competitors if you didn't do that yourself already. So in that way, we can step by step build the pitch deck with this GPT, and at the end, it will give you a full transcript. So let me briefly show you how this end result will look like. Yes, so this would be the kind of final output. So here I get a step-by-step slide description. And now we can actually use this to create a real pitch deck into a tool called Gamma. And I think today Gamma is the nicest tool, AI-driven, to create slides like for a pitch deck. So let me briefly show you how you do it. So what we will need to do is to copy paste this information. So let me briefly do that. So we copy paste everything. So I will copy. And now I will go into my Gamma application and show you how you can transform this into a first nice pitch deck slide draft. Yes, so now I'm in Gamma, and actually I have a subscription, but you can even as a free user use quite some credits. So you can really experiment with it for free. And so you see you have different options to create slides. Now for this, I will use the paste in text option. So I will click on this. And so we want to create a presentation. And here I can simply now copy paste the content that I created in my GPT. So here is the description of the slides. Of course, now we can further double check and fine tune. For instance, here it now did not really specify a name for my startup. So let's now call it something like Electrify. Here my name is missing. So let's do that. So here I will add my own name so that it knows that I am the founder. And in this way, we can double check everything. Now, given the time, I will not do that now, but this should already give us a first good presentation. So what I want to do is to generate from this text the slides. So now I can say continue, where I will have to give some additional kind of information on how the slides would look like. So now I'm in this kind of interface. And again, here are the slide text that I provided. Now I can indicate how do I want it. So let's maybe make it concise, right for early stage investors. That makes a lot of sense. Tone, clear, yes, American English, output in English, visual. So here I can choose kind of the template that we want to use. And here, of course, you can experiment with different templates, but now let's use the basic template that is created here. You can actually also import templates. If you have an own template, you can easily import it. It will create images automatically. So we can now just use the basic settings and press on generate. And now it will start generating a slide deck for us. Yes, we already see it generating, and this will typically take 1 or 2 minutes. So let's briefly wait, and then we can take a look at the final result. Okay, so now the slides have been generated. So now let's press on present to take a look at what has been produced. And you can see here, indeed, it has already created some additional pictures. So this is the starting slides. Here I have kind of the pain points. And you see it had already created quite a nice slide deck. Now, is it perfect? Definitely not. Yeah. So now we will have to further optimize. Of course, we also have to check all the numbers. But for instance, here, I think it has already quite a nice competitor overview slide. So I would say this is a very nice first draft that we now need to further optimize. And this optimization you can also do here. And actually, again, you can use generative AI to optimize. So now you can start kind of communicating with all the parts in your slide and ask it to further optimize. And so that's possible. For instance, here it has quite a strange name. So then I could ask, change the name from Risvan into Dries. And then it will start adjusting this. So in that way, you can really start fine-tuning, optimizing. And when you're ready, you can also then press here on share and, for instance, export it as a PDF, as a PowerPoint, or as a Google slide deck. So in that way, I think this is a very nice tool to use. Another issue, for instance, that I have with this is that if you look at the visuals, some of them might be nice, but typically they might still be rather abstract. And again, what we need to do in our pitch deck is trigger emotional reactions. So what I always like to do is to add visuals that are much more personal, where I actually use myself as a persona to illustrate certain points. And actually, I want to show you a GPT that I built that can help you to accomplish this. So here you can see the Personal Visual Storyteller GPT. And this is a GPT that I developed to help you kind of create visuals that help you in personal storytelling. And so how does it work? We can now just go here and press start. And now what you will see is it will ask me to upload a picture of myself, and I need to tell it a bit about the story that I want to convey. So let me briefly do this. So first of all, I will upload now a picture of myself. Yeah, so my picture is uploaded and now I need to give some additional instructions on what kind of storytelling I want to do. So here it asks me some questions and I can now answer these questions. Now instead of typing, I typically use here the dictaphone because that's more convenient. So let me do that. I want to do storytelling on the pain point that I struggle to pay energy bills. My audience are investors, so I want to use this visual in a pitch deck. It will be used for presentation. The tone should be emotional. And you can choose yourself which visual style is most appropriate. Yeah, so now I can kind of spoke my prompt and now it has reproduced my prompt and now I can simply execute this. And now this tool will enable the image generator to give me a first kind of draft of a visual that I could use. So let's see what it produces. Yes, so now the storyteller is ready and you see it produced already, I think, quite a nice visual of me struggling with paying my energy bills. I think today these image generators are already quite good. So in that way, I think they're very valuable tools to improve the personalization of your pitch deck. And so this would then be, for instance, a picture that I can now copy paste into my slide deck that I created with Gamma. Okay, so I hope this video can really help you in understanding how you need to create a pitch, but also how you can leverage generative AI to make it easier for you to create high quality pitch in a relatively short amount of time. Now, again, I think it's not just about copy pasting. You really then need to optimize yourself. So see the AI as an assistant, but not as something that is replacing you. But in this way, I think you can really start co-creating a high quality pitch together with AI. So please don't hesitate to share your experiences in the comments. It's always great to get some feedback. And I hope this video was helpful for you. So thanks for your attention. Bye.